Raiders, Cardinals. Going through what y'all need to know to make some money on this bitch. So let's do the picks real quick. We got the Dolphins favored by 3 on the road in Vegas and an over-under set at 48.5. Honestly, I don't think anything in this game is bettable, to be honest with you. This is really a stay away. I'll get into why. I do land on the Dolphins winning the game, but I think this game is going to come down to some real dumb shit. So you got to be careful with it. Basically, it boils down to a decent offense versus a good defense on the Raiders side of the ball, as opposed to a bad offense versus a bad defense. The way I see it, ties generally go to the offense, and I think that's pretty proven out. So that would mean the Dolphins have the advantage in terms of the two sides of the ball, given, like I said, they're the bad versus bad, whereas the Raiders are like decent versus good Dolphins defense. So I'll get into why. Stick around. I'll tell you that's how why I go down, but yeah, be careful. So first we got Dolphins offense versus the Raiders defense. So injury wise, quite a few important questionables on the Dolphins. Starters Eric Flowers, Mike Gesicki, and Devontae Parker all questionable. Now those guys do matter. I don't think any of them are all that good, but they are all important on the offense, especially given who replaces them. And on the Raiders defense, Maurice Hurst starting D tackle questionable, as well as Cleveland Farrell starting defensive end out, which is a big deal. He's a good run defender. But yeah, so first we got the run game. Dolphins run game not very good. They do not scheme creatively at all. When they play really soft defensive fronts, those big guys they drafted, Solomon Kindley, Robert Hunt, Solomon Kindley also out in this game. They can move some dudes, but that's not the case here, especially with the Raiders. Jonathan Hankins on the interior, still big, still a pretty decent run defender. Not crazy, but he's decent. And their edges, even without Cleveland Farrell, Carl Nassib is a good edge run defender. And Max Crosby is not awful himself. He's far from my favorite there, but he's not awful. And the Dolphins tackles, like I said, Robert Hunt's pretty good there, but their other side, Austin Jackson, I like him as a tackle, especially because I do think he clearly projects to be a good pass blocking guy, but as a run blocker up to this point, not impressive. So they don't really get to push up front to generate what they need to have a successful run game. And the Raiders linebackers, while definitely exploitable in this matchup, not so much. Nick Kwiatkowski and Raekwon McMillan, both going to be playing, who are actually reasonable in the box, like downhill run defenders. There are games that they would be like basically unplayable, which you've seen a lot from the Raiders this year, but this isn't one of them. Dolphins, like I said, pretty dumb, straightforward run scheme that they can actually handle. So overall, the run game is kind of what you're used to with the Dolphins. It's not very good. Now it's not awful because the Raiders just their defense isn't good enough to force an opposing run game to be bad, but it's not good either. So then the passing. Where to start with this? So first, I'll run through the pass rush real quick. There, I'm encouraged about the Dolphins. Maurice Hurst is an okay defensive tackle rusher, but he's like on the like fourth or fifth tier of that. I'm not like scared of him as a game wrecker or anything like that. And on the edges, I mean, Dolphins start 2 rookie tackles, right? So that's just a baseline of potential issues. But you're talking about Max Crosby, Arden Key, and Carl Nassib having to take advantage of that. Max Crosby, Carl Nassib actually okay, and I do think you'll see them provide a little bit of pressure in this game, but it's nothing that like really worries me. As far as the weapons go, assuming Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki play, which it seems like they're going to, still not all that great. Dolphins weapons not good. Mike Gesicki, don't listen. He's been good for fantasy and everything, and he definitely. I mean, he's clearly athletic and he can get up and make catches, but that is like just not a valuable skill. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. It is clearly valuable given what he's done, but is like not in the top 5 of consistently useful offensive skills for a player. So Mike Gesicki he just doesn't generate offense by himself. So outside of the whatever 1 or 2 chances of contested catches he gets a game, which while can be important, it's just not a high likelihood proposition. And Devontae Parker really fits in that category too. He's better than that. And you'll see here if he plays, actually he's going to be decent because, funnily enough, as a bigger body contested catch guy, what he actually struggles with is smaller corners who can shadow him and be in his pocket like constantly. Raiders don't have that. Trayvon Mullen's actually the type of corner that Devontae Parker can like abuse a little bit physically down the field, which is definitely the case. But even given that, the Dolphins just really, really lack someone who can consistently down to down be open. The closest they have to that is maybe slot receiver Lynn Bowden. You know, all right. He actually has been like okay, but again, he hasn't really shown me that he's gonna be the one creating space, creating offense. So then he gets Tua. Tua's still not very good yet. I'm gonna reiterate it throughout the season for the next couple games still until I see something different. That I see the signs of him being good next year, depending on what offense he's in. I probably would expect him to be pretty decent. But as of right now, in this offense with these weapons, he is not good enough to drive the offense. You saw that 2 weeks ago, or what? I mean, you've seen it literally every game that he's played. Um, they end up scoring 24 on the Patriots because the Patriots' offense was completely not functional. They had that late comeback versus the Chiefs because they're down by a ton and they get basically like a bunch of lucky fucking triple coverage catches from like Mike Gesicki down the field. And yeah, and then the Broncos, those dumb things never happened and they scored like 10 points. So to it, yeah, still a ton of issues, which are going to show up here. Now, there is enough to suggest that he'll be okay just because of how bad the Raiders defense is, and they still start and play Lamarcus Joyner, who's ungodly awful as a coverage guy in the slot. So like there are chances, right, for him to succeed a tiny bit, but I'm still would put literally nothing on him being consistently successful as a quarterback at this point. So I have them at 18 to 26 points. Part of that is assuming that they get some field position from their defense at times, which is not a safe assumption. Keep that in mind. But also, it's because I do think that, yeah, just over the course of a game, playing indoors versus bad defense, there's going to be enough whatever things that happen to get them to that point. But their ceiling not higher than that without like actual defensive touchdowns. So we get to the Raiders. Injury wise, let's see, nothing relevant on either side really. Shaq Lawson starting outside linebacker for the Dolphins, questionable. I like him a lot, but I think she does kind of matter in this game. But I'm going to assume he's going to play. So run game. Raiders show up in the run game, similar to the Dolphins on the other side of the ball, just to a better extent. When they have a weak defensive front that they can push around. Certainly not the case here. Raekwon Davis shown he's for real as a nose tackle for the Dolphins. Christian Wilkins, not worth a first rounder probably, but he is a good run defender. Although he lacks the playmaking ability of that you really want from defensive tackles. But I'm not going to roast him too much. Here he's pretty useful. And there are other guys. I mean, Jones has kind of shown some things. Zach Seiler I like a lot. There's enough there to prevent the Raiders from like really moving the line of scrimmage consistently. And on the edges, I mean, listen, Trent Brown is a monster out there, and you're going to see him put in some work in this game at times. But the Dolphins are going to throw Shaq Lawson out there, who's maybe, I don't know, he's a top 5 run defending edge in the NFL. And then on the other side, where there's Andrew Van Ginkel, Kyle Van Noy, Emmanuel Agbo, whatever they throw out there, they're not going to get like babied constantly. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be great, but they're not going to be awful. So the Raiders basically, the point of that is the Raiders lack that real element they need to be consistently successful. And it's not like the Dolphins linebackers are bad. I don't love them, especially I think Jerome Baker, whatever. But here they're gonna be fine because he gets to react pretty cleanly up to the line of scrimmage. Landon Roberts is like legitimately good in the scenario where he only has to worry between the tackles mostly. So, yeah. As far as pass game, pass rush first. I'm not super worried about the Dolphins pass rush here. So they've generated most of the pressure from the way, really similar to how the Patriots have done for forever in terms of, misdirecting offensive linemen, causing confusion so that people, on a 4-man blitz, all 5 linemen slide to one side to block 3 guys so their guy comes free even though they're only blitzing 4, right? Raiders have a good veteran offensive line who've at this point been playing together for a long time. Now that Trent Brown has been out for a lot of the year, so maybe you could argue that there's a spot of weakness, but I'm not crazy concerned about it. I do think it'll flash a little bit in this game, but it's not going to be quite what you've seen in other situations. And frankly, Derek Carr throws the ball too fast as opposed to like what you saw to fucking Cam Newton last week, for that to have the impact that it has had in other games. And as far as individual guys go, I like Emmanuel Ogbah and Zach Seiler, like I said, but are they really good enough to consistently create pressure, like in one-on-one matchups that they do get versus any of the Raiders O linemen? No. So that's encouraging for the Raiders. Weapons wise, so first and last place you have to start Darren Waller. Is he going to be good or not? Because their offense not functional without him. And the answer is it's actually really hard to know. There's a way the Dolphins can, if they're smart enough, completely destroy them. If they literally just say fuck everything else and have Xavier Howard shadow Darren Waller, then the Raiders are fucked. Darren Waller will not be able to get open. Xavier Howard, maybe even not one play. That's what you saw the Patriots do earlier in the year when they held the Raiders to like whatever, I don't know, it was like 10 points or some shit like that. And Darren Waller had like one catch. And it's because they had Stephon Gilmore cover him the vast majority of the time or another actual cornerback. And the Dolphins can do that. Are they going to be smart enough to? I don't know. You'll see. That's going to be a huge factor in what actually happens in this game. But I'm going to guess they don't. Actually, I'm going to guess that they have Xavier Howard, Byron Jones stick on the outside, in which case you're talking about a safety or Nick Needham on Darren Waller. In which case, Darren Waller's probably good enough. Now, I like Nick Needham a lot, actually, and I think he'd be okay here, but he's not quite to the level where I'm like, oh, he's going to shut down Darren Waller or anything like that. So, if Darren Waller's functional, that means their offense just has a floor already. And frankly, at outside receiver, Xavier Howard, again, very, very good. He's going to shut down whoever he covers. But Byron Jones, I talk about it every time. Still true. He's still overrated as like an actual man cover guy. He's better than a lot of corners in the league, but he's not good enough to be the reason a NFL receiver never gets open. Like absolutely not. So there's chances overall, and especially in the slot too. Nick Needham, like I said, I like him, but he's a bigger body guy, and Hunter Renfrow, Zay Jones, smaller, quicker dudes. There's enough stuff here to like give me the idea Raiders are gonna be able to get open short. Which, given Derek Carr, that's what they're looking for now. Derek Carr is going to be limited. He's just not good enough at playing quarterback to consistently diagnose and defeat whatever the Dolphins are doing defensively, which you'll absolutely see in this game. But if Darren Waller is functional and his other receivers are not shut down, and if the pass rush is not destructive, then he's going to be not awful, right? He's not like I don't know, Mitch Trubisky or whatever. Where actually Trubisky's not even a good example of this. Drew Lock, I think, would be a good example of like even if everything's perfect, he can just fuck stuff up for himself. Derek Carr doesn't really do that, so I think he's gonna be okay here. Now, is he gonna be great? Absolutely not. Dolphins defense still really good, and like I'm not gonna fucking overrate the Raiders' offensive weapons. Like they're whatever, really, in the grand scheme of things. But I had them at 18 to 26 points as well, because like I said, with the functional Darren Waller, their floor is pretty high. And frankly, the Dolphins' offense is not going to move the ball well enough to keep the possessions low for the Raiders. So, yeah. Now, I do think that is maybe a little bit on the high end. If there's any way this score deviates from what I just gave, it's with the Dolphins blowing the Raiders out because Darren Waller was shut down and they couldn't move the ball, which is possible. Hence why I don't think this game is really bettable, because that's something that you just don't know what the Dolphins' defensive game plan is, and if they're smart enough to, like the tools are clearly there for them to do so. But we'll see if it happens. Like I said, I end up with, because of that, being that I think there can be a blowout in one direction, whereas not in the other direction. I do land on the Dolphins winning the game. Not something I feel crazy about, though, or that I think is worth betting on. And as far as the over-under, really same thing. I definitely go the under because the number's a little high, especially given the circumstances of the Dolphins themselves being a bad offense and a good defense. But that too, with defensive scores, which are possible in this game, that kind of gets fucked. So I would say just be warned. This game not really worth betting on. If you're into live betting though, and you see that they do come out with Xavier Howard on Darren Waller, then I would jump right on the Dolphins pretty quick. But yeah, that is Raiders Dolphins.